Jamie Michelle Fraley was born on March 5, 1986, in Gaston County, North Carolina, to mother Kim Fraley. She was a sickly newborn who many believed wouldn't live past the age of 1 at birth, but she did. For that reason, she was dubbed an energetic girl, who was in search of getting through the years of her obstacles. While known to be feisty at times, she was a sweet and intelligent girl. According to her mom, Jamie was planning to pursue a goal as a substance abuse counselor, for which she was studying part-time at Gaston College, alongside getting her GED, at the time of her disappearance. She had never used illegal drugs, but her mother's kind and giving nature was enough to raise Jamie into a responsible adult throughout her life. And aspired to be a drug counselor, one day from her experience with several friends who lost their way. Jamie Fraley was later diagnosed with bipolar and anxiety disorders. She had been taking medication to suppress her nasty outbursts, which had been prevalent for all her teenage and adult years. But at this time, Jamie Fraley began dating in 2006, and not long after she was engaged to Ricky Simons Jr., and decided to live together at the Copperfield apartment complex at 1850 Lower Bethesda Road in Gastonia. It's the 7th of April, 2008. Jamie was suffering from what doctors believed to be the stomach flu, for which she had gone to the hospital twice. The first time was around lunchtime. When she returned home, her friend picked up a dog Jamie had been babysitting for her, and offered to drop off her prescription at a local drugstore. Between 8 p.m. and 10 p.m., Jamie decided she needed to return to the emergency room, unhappy with her previous diagnosis. As she didn't have a driver's license, or method of transportation, she called her fiancé's father, Ricky Simons Sr., for a ride. When she arrived at the hospital, she was told the wait would be 3 hours. She decided to leave, and called another neighbor to ask for a ride back to her apartment. Jamie got home around midnight, and called her mother. Concerned, Kim Fraley asked if she wanted picked up the next day. Her daughter declined, saying she had an appointment with the Social Security Administration. 2 hours later, Jamie called a friend, and told them someone was going to pick her up and take her back to the hospital. However, she didn't saw who that person was, and abruptly hung up when they pulled up outside. On August 11th, Jamie had missed an important appointment, and had not been reached for a few days. Since then, Jamie never checked into the hospital, and was never seen again. Her mother called police, and asked them to do a wellness check. They went to the apartment, and found it locked. The apartment appeared untouched, with her purse, ID, wallet, and keys inside. There was evidence of Jamie's recent illness as well, but not signs of a struggle. She'd also vomited in several places, indicating the severity of her stomach issues. They noticed the shoelaces were missing from her favorite pair of shoes, which struck them as odd. The Gaston County Police Department assigned 3 investigators to the case full-time, and requested assistance from the State Bureau of Investigation and the FBI. They interviewed Jamie's friends and family, and conducted door-to-door conversations with residents of the apartment complex. The area around the complex was searched, including a nearby wooded area. Divers and cadaver dogs also searched Lake Armstrong, located across the street, but their efforts turned up empty. Jamie's family made thousands of missing persons flyers, conducted their own searches, and hired their own investigator to aid in the search. Both Texas EquuSearch and the Kristen Foundation traveled to North Carolina. On April 13, 2008, a utilities worker repairing lines at the intersection of South New Hope Road and East Hudson Boulevard found Jamie's cell phone. It appeared to have been thrown from a moving vehicle. When investigators looked at it, they found several calls were made at 4:30 a.m. on the morning Jamie disappeared, but none connected. They were later determined to have been dialed from her list of recent contacts, and therefore not related to the case. What did interest investigators was a call made to the phone at 5 a.m. that same day. Unfortunately, they were unable to determine who it was from. Due to the amount of people who had handled the cell phone, investigators were unable to glean much from it. Search dogs were brought to the intersection, where it was found, but they didn't hit upon anything. 49-year-old Ricky Simons was the father of Fraley's fiancé, Ricky Simons Jr., who was in state prison for theft at the time of her disappearance. He lived at the same apartment complex as the couple, just 2 doors away, and did maintenance work there. And Fraley had been dating Simon's son, Ricky Jr., who wasn't considered a suspect, because he was in prison when Fraley disappeared. Her fiancé's father, Ricky Dale Simons Sr., is considered a person of interest in her case. In the 1980s, Simmons Sr. had previously served time in prison for strangling an ex-girlfriend to death. His criminal history also included fraud, larceny, and several drug arrests. He was also one of the last people to see Jamie, as he'd driven her to the hospital just a few hours before her disappearance. On June 8, 2008, Simmons Sr. was found dead in the trunk of his ex-girlfriend's car. The cause of death was ruled to be accidental heat stroke. Police speculated that he hid inside the car trunk and planned to harm her, but got trapped inside and died of heat stroke. Investigators don't believe she left of her own accord, as she had no driver's license and no transportation, and it's uncharacteristic of her to leave without warning. After his death, police suspected his involvement in Fraley's disappearance, but no proof was found, and therefore, isn't considered a suspect in her case. A convicted murderer named Jerry Douglas Case confessed to Fraley's murder in 2015. Case killed a 17-year-old boy in 1985. His death was originally ruled an accident, and Case wasn't suspected until he wrote a letter to the Gaston Gazette in 2012, confessing to the crime. He was, at the time, serving a 22-year prison sentence for killing another individual. He was convicted of second-degree murder in 2015. Later that year, he wrote another letter to the Gaston Gazette, and confessed to having killed Fraley, and another Gaston woman, who was shot to death in 2008. However, he was incarcerated when Fraley disappeared, and police don't believe the confessions are credible. The case went cold over time. Her family is not working just up the courage to face this great loss, but desiring to find out the truth of their daughter's whereabouts, not knowing where she is, or why she disappeared. Their daughter's image always came to mind in their family, but she would never came back.